Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? This is new to y'all right now. This is your boy Tony introducing the whole entire TMP family right here. We got Kansas City and Florida up in the building. What's good, y'all? How y'all doing?
Doing great.
You know we doing good down here in H-Town. You know how we do. Slow it down, slow it down. Today, man, we're gonna be talking about a very good movie because we're talking about domestic violence and abuse this month. So we kind of want to do something a little different, and we brought Not Easily Broken to the table as far as a movie that we're gonna be talking about. So it's kind of gonna be throwing people off a little bit because the fellas be taking the lead a little bit. And let me go ahead and shoot it to my boy out in Kansas City, Terry. What's good, bro?
I'm gonna bring the first discussion up, which is how domestic violence can come in many forms, and it can be a man who's being abused. I don't know how, but a man can be abused.
Well, you say you don't know how.
What is that supposed to be? From my standpoint, like
yeah.
I done seen Rebecca put you in a headlock once or twice.
Get out of it though.
Well, I think this is a great question. And, you know, we laugh about it and make light just because we know it is a serious conversation. It is a serious topic, you know, but just to try to kind of introduce it. And you know, what's funny is, and we're all guilty of it because it just happened.
Yeah.
If a person is a woman and she says she's been abused, we turn up and we flip our lids, and she's instantly a victim, and we instantly want to go smash bro's face in the ground or take his life or some serious consequence for that. But if a guy says he's been treated in the same way a woman has been treated, he is a walking joke.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to my male victims. But no, on the real though, like, I think that's a problem. I really think that's a problem in real life. I think that's one of those things where, you know, and I don't want to come off as like an a-hole or anything or a jerk, but so many times we give so much of the relationship's voice to the woman, and there's no equality in a guy's sensitivity. You know, if a guy is expressing his more if a guy first of all is in touch with his feelings and his emotions, he's considered to be soft. If he is hurt by someone's words, he's considered to be soft. If he's hurt by a woman's physical, he's considered to be someone who can't protect himself. He's considered to be soft. And so it paints so many different images and perspectives to the Mr. Nice Guy. And you know, and this is like, I think this is also one of those fitting scenarios where they say nice guys finish last. Because, you know, a guy maybe he may get hit and he refused to put his hands on a woman. So I mean, it's a lot that we could talk about here. We got a lot of meat on the bone and a lot of things to address. So KP, yeah, I see you raise your hand. Thank you, because I was gonna call one of y'all women out. Like, what y'all be doing?
So here's the thing though, like, a man is clearly, you know, by default, unless his woman or wife, partner, what have you, is like 100 pounds, maybe 200 pounds heavier than him or bigger than him, by default, he's going to be stronger and typically bigger. I mean, you know, let's just call it what it is. So we look at domestic violence, and we talked about this a little bit last week. We look at it as, you know, a power struggle, right? So clearly, if there is a woman who's like hitting, you know, her man or whatever in the face, or like pushing him, let's say she pushes him down the steps or something, he wouldn't, in our minds, right? We think he wouldn't be as hurt as if it were the other way around, right? If I punch Tony right now in his head, that probably ain't gonna really hurt him, right? Or if he sees it coming, he can easily block and hold my hands down, like, chill. But you get what I'm saying? So that's why, sorry, I use you as an example. He'll be being soft. No, I was kidding. But you get what I'm saying, right? He has the ability to also get me up off of him, right? A lot of women, he does. I'm saying it's up to him if he wants to do that. But when you look at it the other way, women don't always have that luxury of being able to do that. So I think that's why we are more, and we are, okay, as a culture, not saying that it's right, but we are more sensitive to women when they are in an abusive relationship, because we look at it as the man, as should be, right? The bigger one, the one that's stronger. So it shouldn't be nothing, even if it's him doing this, again, defending himself, protecting himself. We look at it as it's not that hard for a man to be able to do that. But then you also have to look at it like this. Some men may be afraid in a way to even the smallest gesture of putting her hands down, you know, and her being able to use that and say, oh, he held me down, he this, he that, because we see that too a lot. So it could be that he's just afraid of the consequences for him if he even defends himself against his
I think that's probably
spouse.
a very high percentage of that.
Yeah.
More so than anything.
Still abuse. It's still abuse.
It's like when the cops come, they ain't looking at the man as like you're the one that's the victim. They like, hold on, what did you do? Do you have any bruise, ma'ams, on your wrist or anything? Let one slight bruise be on her. It's a wrap. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back.
Be from that scenario. Let Arian go.
So I disagree. I think that although a man can protect himself, I'm sorry, there's women out here that's strong, i.e. me. So if I deck Chris in the face, no, seriously, there's women are strong. Like if Kanisha decked Tony in the face, you can't tell me that that's not gonna hurt.
It take 3 pounds of pressure to knock a person out.
It do.
You may not be, and I think that's what people think. They think about the overpowering part, but not necessarily that this is abuse. A child can hit their parent in the face,
and it hurts.
And that hurts. Those of y'all who have kids, if your child ever took you by the nails in your earring or in your lip, you know that hurt.
Yes.
That happened to me before with other little babies that I've held. So I can imagine a woman who is an adult that physically hits a man and it hurts. It may not leave a bruise, you know what I mean? And he may be able to, you know, protect himself. But I think that's the issue there that we're talking about. And that although, you know, men can protect themselves, they don't want to admit that or voice those concerns.
So, and I have 2 different takes. One was a rebuttal, but the other one is to your point, Kanisha. So I'll start with the one to your point. If I can remember the rebuttal, then I will. But to your point, it's not, it 100% is a power struggle. Mm-hmm. It's not a gender struggle, because there are women who weigh more than a man. I see a lot of, you know, respectfully, I see a lot of heavy set women with skinny dudes, you know what I'm saying? Because those skinny dudes be, you know what I'm saying? So I see a lot of heavy set women with skinny dudes. And I've seen heavy set women on World Star. Sorry. I've seen heavy set women go to work on a skinny dude. And there is no defense because it just ain't one. You see what I'm saying? And then the other thing is this. 9 times out of 10, Kanisha, if just because y'all use y'all as an example, if you did want to hit Tony, you're not hitting Tony with your fist. You're hitting Tony with something else, because you already know your fist to his face is not going to be as impactful as a skillet or as a other object that weighs more, that you could do more damage to, that you could do more damage with. So, you know, again, you know, I think that the conversation is definitely about the power struggle. You know what I mean? Because there is a lot more to it, and we can dissect and break down a lot of different scenarios, but Rebecca, go for it.
I'm gonna say, let's be clear. Women don't necessarily hit with our fists. We hit with our words.
Yeah.
So let's keep it 100, right? The violence can happen with our words, and the emotional hits, you know, the mental hits, the financial hits that we do to our significant other. I think that is something that we don't really touch on, because once again, when we think about abuse, we immediately go to the physical, but that social, emotional, and mental health, we are solid. We are notorious for being vicious. Like, for an example, nothing is more vicious than a teenage young lady. If you want to keep it real, and I'm in education, the fights, they're more vicious, like physical altercations. The bullying, the verbal abuse and tearing down of others, there is nothing more vicious than a teenage young woman. And that still carries along with us into adulthood, our words, because we know we won't win a physical battle, but I'll win this verbal one. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that we really have to be mindful of, is our words, how we speak. Because honestly, I think if I was even to hit Terrence, I feel like my words would hit harder than me physically hitting him with all my might. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. And also, to tag on to that, I believe like all of us, Stanfield was like abuse relationship with us. Like our women know us inside and out, so they know what's gonna break us, what could break us.
Mm-hmm. You mean like so trigger?
Yeah, trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've seen examples like this even in the movie. Just kind of sticking to Not Easily Broken. We've seen that same scenario, Rebecca, where AP Skinner, where David's mother-in-law, you know what I mean? In addition to the wife, but also the mother-in-law. Even in the movie, there were times when they would double team him and both attack him verbally. And I do think that there's still some meat on the bone concerning the physical abuse. But man, listen, if you want to break a man down, just like if you want to build a man up, you go for his ego. Mm-hmm. And there were so many instances and scenarios, and there are so many instances and scenarios where a man is attacking his ego. And a lot of times, we kind of stick our chest out and we play the tough guy role, you know what I mean? Because we are tough. But especially when we get into a relationship, I think a relationship for a man, possibly other than fatherhood, is the most vulnerable a man can be. Because he's not just showing you, I mean, come on, like, even with an animal, being defensive is exhausting. And outside in the world, we have to be defensive. We got to be tough. We got to, you know what I'm saying? Like, just in our professional manners, at the table with the big dogs, in the factory with the dogs, or wherever we are, we got to be tough because we don't want to be invaded. But when we get home, we tired of being tough. And so we tend to say more. We tend to express more. And it seems like a lot of times that stuff can be pocketed. Okay. It's like that just kind of goes in your pocket. And then at any convenient moment, it just splats out. RP Skinner, what you got for us?
I have a question. Because as a woman, I always think that, but as a man and as men, when you are in that world where you feel like you have to be tough and super defensive all the time, when you come home, like, what are you looking for, or how do you receive that we're a safe place? Am I making sense with that question?
I think you'll get 3 different answers from all 3 of us, to be honest.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I want to hear from the men, for us, for single women who may be out there, or women who don't necessarily know how, like, when you think about that, what is the first thing that comes to mind when, like, you want to be able to be vulnerable, or you want your, girl to be a safe space? What does that look like to you? And I know it's going to be different, but I want to hear the male perspective there, because I have my own thoughts, but I don't think I know the heart of it from a male perspective.
Well, Tony, did you have something? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
For me, it's pretty simple. It's basically the same thing that you would want, because I feel like females go through the same thing too when they outside in the world. So when you come home, you want me to listen to you of what your day went through, how you went through this or went through that. You just want me to listen and empathize with what you went through with that day. So, because like I can't talk to a stranger or whoever I'm playing hard for out in the world about what I'm going through, because I'm putting on this, not facade, but I'm going through the world, as Chris say, acting hard to other people, because I'm not I don't want to let everybody into
Right.
what you know as me.
Mhm.
I think for me,
Fire.
I think mine is sort of like how my love language is. Like I love to talk, but for me, I don't want to talk about work, and she know that. Like work is work. Now it's got to be a very bad day for me to talk about work, and that's the day like, hey, I want to put hands on somebody, but I'd rather talk to you first. Put me back in my place, and I'm calm now. You know what I'm saying? Give me my reality checks. And of course the loving, the greeting, and and
Loving.
yeah, like
Love it, girl.
Girl,
You
love
married.
it. Wear him out.
you know,
Did y'all hear?
you know,
What?
Terry said, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like the usual, you know, and then kind of like just be able to take a load off of just the outside world, like you said, Terry, because it's so tiring. Always have to be so tough all the time, and it's not that we wake up in the morning and be like, man, I want to go outside and be like the hardest dude out here. Like it's just that when you not putting on some type of energy like that, people feel like they can take advantage of you. So it's like, man, I can't even get out and go to the gas station without changing my whole face from listening to gospel music in the car. And then when I get out and I see some dudes standing out in front of the gas station, I'm like, yeah, like,
What's up?
man? What up, man? Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't be out there and praise them and all that at that moment because they gonna be like, oh yeah, man, you got $5? No, I ain't gonna ask him. You know what I mean? So it's just so tiring though. You know what I mean? Because it's very stressful. And then like from a mental standpoint, it could take so much of a toll on you if you're not able to release that. And then not being able to communicate that with your spouse, it could go to a whole nother level. It could be a dark world during that time.
And that could end up to you releasing that anger or saying you was finna fight at work, then you end up having to take out whatever you feeling at work or outside because you wasn't able to release it at home.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all saying a lot. Before I say my big, because it's actually short. I just want to kind of highlight a couple points that they both made that's definitely worthy of mention. One of them, and Tone, I kind of want you to elaborate, so I'm gonna come back to yours, okay? On the point of put me back in my place. I'm gonna ask you to elaborate on that a little bit, because that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for Terry, one of the things that he said that I just want to highlight is he said, "I want what you want." As you know what I'm saying, as a man. We're talking again. What Kanisha said is I call her KP. Y'all hear me refer to her as KP. What KP said is, she said it's a power struggle. Again, it's not a gender struggle. It's because I know I'm a man and she knows she a woman, and you know what I'm saying. We know what we are. It's a struggle of power, and that is an internal thing. When you feel like you need to be in control of these particular situations. You might not need to be. You might need to shut up. You might need to listen. You might need to contribute. You might need to do more. You might need to take initiative. But it's all in what we always talk about, or what we frequently bring up. It's all in communication. So Terry, bro, I just think that was phenomenal what you said, because I don't even think that I viewed it that way prior to just now. Like, dang, I do want what my wife wants. You know what I'm saying? But Tony, I just want to pass it back to you before I say my 2 cents. You said put me back in my place. I think that was a strong statement, but I want to leave it to you to interpret it.
Yeah, not an abusive way, but
right.
but like, you know, she's like my peace. You know, she keeps me sane. I put it like that. And so like, just as the words say, like God created woman to be a helpmeet, and it's so many ways where our wives or you know, and fiancés or whatever the case may be, they can kind of talk us into a positive direction when we want to be negative. You know what I mean? And that's a blessing to have that, because a lot of times if we just thinking on our own thoughts, you know, we're a team, you know, so it's like, hey, put me in the game, coach, or sit me on the bench. Which one should I do? You know what I mean? That's what that is.
That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, mine is fairly quick. On my part, look at Kanisha, it's game time. So on my part, I think that I would really I could really appreciate the different levels of when I'm being like that tough guy, because it's autopilot. You know what I mean? It legit is cruise control. You know what I mean? When you drive and you hit that spot on the highway where you feel like, boom, I'm coasting. You don't even notice that you know what I'm saying? You done hit 3 buttons and accelerated to the speed. You're just driving. And until you gotta hit the brakes, you don't even realize like, oh, I was on cruise control for like 60 miles. I don't necessarily know because I suppress a lot of things. I don't know when I'm being tough guy outside of home. You see what I'm saying? So when I come in home, I might still have that energy. And this is like brand new. This is like hot off the press. Like, dang, you know what? I'm kind of noticing that right now, like as we speak. I don't know when I'm being tough guy, Chris, outside. I don't know when I'm being, you know, like you said, Tony, that gas station thing, that's probably the realest thing I heard like all week. That's so real. I'm talking about Tasha Cobbs blaring, right? Gracefully broken on loud. You pull up to the gas station, you think you done switched to 50 Cent Mini, man. With
Yep,
for real. Blood in my eyes, dog, and I can't. It's like it just completely switches, and you might still kind of have like a friendly demeanor because you know you still caught up, but you got this friendly demeanor, but at the same time, it's like it's this don't approach me the wrong way type swag. And how many times do we go through that? And not just men. And that's I figured out my second point, KP. But not just men where we it's like we don't know what we got to put on, and when we get home, we don't know what we've had on.
Yeah.
So you might ask us how our day went is good. That's that outside exterior we had on. It hadn't clicked to us. We could take our armor off yet. And I think that's the portion of you know, I wouldn't want a woman to be defensive because it's like we still got the armor on. It's just like a soldier. When you at war, you might sit at the campfire to go to sleep so you can kind of get warm and lay up, but you got everything on because you ready for battle. So, you know, I think it's in marriages, in relationships where I feel like they've been extremely successful, like Tony said earlier, be my peace. Yeah. They have gotten good at, let me take your helmet off, babe. What you got on your mind. And as he starts to express what's on his mind, let me get this shirt for you. Let me get this breastplate for you. Oh man, I didn't even know I had this bad boy on because it's just like shoulder pads. Like when you in the game, you in the game. These extra 5 pounds don't matter. It don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think that those were strong pieces. I do want to bring something up, but later because I don't want to like stick on one thing. So, you know, ladies, fellas, what y'all got for us?
Man, I'm just sitting back in amazement at how y'all are just taking, not like y'all don't talk, you know, in our videos, but I mean, y'all are, man.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, I'm so turned on right now by you.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Don't try to play like y'all two ain't either. Don't play. You know your loins. Anyway, so
Oh my goodness. I
can't stand
this y'all. Gonna be a short recording. Look, we almost done, y'all.
We gotta go.
Wrap it up, right?
We'll see y'all. We gotta pay a couple bills. Commercial break.
Oh my God. Okay.
But no, for real. All three of y'all have said something that has really just struck a chord with me in the psyche and the thought process of our men, and that was just amazing to really sit here and listen. And so I don't even really have much to add in this moment. I'm just like, wow. Like, you know how it takes you a minute, you hear something real good and it takes you a minute to process? That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
No, I was just gonna say, just to like kudos for you guys, like really, because I know you guys have spoken before, and I know we've I think for our Juneteenth we kind of gave an insight. You guys gave insight from the male perspective as far as what you think and how you feel going out into the world and things like that. But just kind of going back to the topic, I really can see how you going out and enduring all of, you know, the mess and having that weight on your shoulders, all the armor, and then when you come home, like let's say we're not thinking about that, you know, and we are pissed because y'all didn't do the dishes right, or you know, in Chris's case, he skinned some fish and made dinner, which was good, but he left all those fish scales on the counter.
Which wasn't even all those. It was probably like 10.
Hold on, this is my go. I got you. So that's my thing. You leaving fish scales on the counter, so you come home and I'm ready to light into you. And I think that's where the sensitivity and the empathy that we talked about before comes in, because if they come home and they just want to finally be able to exhale, and we grab them and by the jugular, they're not gonna want to come home to us anymore. They're not gonna want to come home and like exhale.
I'm not gonna shake my head today, but I was shaking my head.
Just like,
amen. Hey, say amen.
Amen. No, hey, listen,
say amen because you want to.
Slap your neighbor, high five. No.
But no, look, I'm guilty of that. I'm so guilty because, and it goes both ways, but because we're talking about the male today, I'm gonna speak on how us women can just be so caught up in what we want to do right, and that's also the power struggle. You know what I mean? We want these acts of service to be done when we ask them, and especially if you say you go do them, to do them. But we never put on that mindset, okay, they're coming in the house. We don't have to get at them right when they get in the house. That can be something, you know, we about to go to bed, we relaxed, you know, rubbing on them and stuff, you know, kind of get them in the mood to kind of receive what you want to be corrected.
Wait, hold on.
So,
I just want to jump in right there. That's not necessarily, let me just kind of speak from the man's perspective. That's not necessarily the best method either, right? I think I love what you said. Let me say that.
Yeah, I get it.
No, but I just want to say this because it can be viewed as you massaging my back to stab me in it. You see what I'm saying? I'm just giving a man's perspective. So if you like, generally speaking, not saying you, Jim, this is a general statement, but if you kind of like, oh, you know, how was your day? Blah, 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 blah. Then I finally get my armor off just for you to be like, well, you still ain't take the trash out. Like, you kind of make me want to put my armor back on. So but you're right though, where women are, in my opinion, phenomenal at.
Well, hold on, baby.
Yeah.
You cut me off. So I do want to say, just wrap up my thought. I do want to say that's not my intent for those of you that are watching, and don't take it on as that, because that can also be seen as something where you're just allowing them to get away with stuff that has been a issue continually. So that's my point. My point is just allow them to breathe.
Yeah.
That's my whole point, that I just kind of want to end there. Allow them to breathe. It's not necessarily to stab you in your back. Wrong psyche. But I get where you're coming from. But ladies, allow your men to relax before, you know, you dig into them.
I was gonna say too, like in terms of like abuse, right? Like if you're verbally or emotionally abusing somebody, 99.9% of the time that's coming from within. So there's something going on with you that you're upset or you're angry about that you are projecting onto that person. And that's whether it's female or male, doesn't matter. Because when we're talking about like the movie, right? Like just using that as point of reference, every time she was angry, like Taraji P. Henson's character, every time she said something that was very, 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 very wrong, very, very, you know, dirty, like below the belt kind of type comments, it was because something within her was either upset or felt inadequate, or there was something, again, that was going on with her that she projected onto him. Like when they were at dinner and like they were supposed to be paying for everybody's dinner, right? And he's kind of looking, you know, a little hesitant. She didn't pick up on it. It was like, oh, go ahead. You know, we got it. So he's like, you know, like, oh my God. You know, he hands the credit card to the waiter, and the waiter back there like, you know, because he could tell that
it doesn't work.
Yeah, he could tell ain't no money on that, right? She comes home.
That's exactly how he did it too.
She comes home and tears into him. Why? Because she was embarrassed, right? She's angry. She's embarrassed. So I'm about to, like it was kind of one of them, I can't wait till we, you know, besides the fact that she didn't pick up, right? That he was kind of trying to say like, without him saying anything, I don't think we should, you know, she completely forgot, didn't pick up on that at all. So my point is, if there's emotional abuse, most of the time, and I can't say it doesn't have anything to do with that person. Not saying that person is an angel necessarily. They may have done some things or whatever, regardless of the fact, we're talking about emotional abuse. It's something within you that you are projecting onto that person.
But that relates back to like what Arian was saying. going back to Morris Chestnut character, every time he came home, it's like she never spoke life into him.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It was just always something. Like, yeah, this man was an entrepreneur. He had his own construction company that he was working from the ground up. And he had time to do community service that he wanted to do, which was helping the kids in the inner city. You know what I'm saying? Not getting praised for none of that when he get home. So he felt more comfortable being away from the home. Now that when it gets like that, it's a problem. You more comfortable away from home when he like, man, I'm with the boys, we about to go hoop, we about to go work out. That's one thing. But then it's like, I got baseball practice. That's another thing. And I would rather go sit in a dark room and listen to my music than to listen to you cackle all day. Like, I'm good.
So basically, his armor was on the whole entire
time. He never
got to take it off.
Never able to
never
just
able
like,
to take it off.
Oh. So that's why when she finally said that she was pregnant at the end of the movie, I know I'm jumping ahead, but if you seen that emotion was able to come out because he had to hide so much emotion for all those years. Like, that's crazy. I'm surprised he didn't have a nervous breakdown. And that could have happened to a man or a woman. They can have a nervous breakdown and they can end up in a hospital bed or even worse.
Yeah. But she did say at the end too, like, I want to learn how to be your partner. Yeah. Like, in other words, I may not know, I may not understand, but I'm acknowledging the fact that I don't know and I want to learn.
And I'll tell you, you know, as I'm sitting here thinking about her character, so she wasn't taking care of him mentally or emotionally, and she wasn't taking care of him physically either. Yeah. And almost to a point that she was disgusted by him even thinking about it. Like, we're not doing ourselves any favors when we act like that, ladies. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're not.
Well, hold now. No, I was kidding.
That and just a whole like disgust. Almost like, how dare you ask for that just because he has liquor on his breath? Girl, no. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Everybody needs their own, but just consider the ways in which you are feeding your spouse. How are you feeding them? Because I think that's really important. And not every man's love language is physical touch. But I'm just saying, as far as like, dang, I'm not even getting, we've talked about that before. Like, who is it? The hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. I ain't even getting my needs met. You know what I'm saying? In the relationship. And so that is a difficult portion as well to deal with I think from a male perspective, or any person who's in a relationship where your needs aren't being met.
Well, that brings me to my last point.
I think, Sis Arian, did you want to say?
Oh, my bad.
Before you go, I just wanted to kind of tag on what you were saying, Tony, like the how men can go through hurt and have a breakdown. Because I took a couple of stats. So you actually just hit on like one of the stats that I was going to say. And it says 35% of men who experience rape, stalking, physical, or psychological violence from an intimate partner experience significant impacts, whether short-term or long-term, like injuries or symptoms such as post-traumatic stress disorder. So that stuff is real. Just because you're a man and just because, you know, you're physically strong and you have to go out in the world and be strong and everything about you has to exude strong, doesn't mean that you do not have a mental and you do not have emotions that can be broken down so much to the point that you don't want to trust anybody anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Men have that a lot. They say, oh, these women have dogged me a lot. You know, they treat their women how they've been treated. They cannot go into the next relationship without having some type of wall or guard on because they have been so hurt, you know, psychologically, mentally and financially that they don't want to give anymore. So that's a part of PTSD. So that's kind of the point that I also want to bring home as well, as far as men and how they can be just as, you know, if not more affected from our words.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, traumatized.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to KP's point where she said that Taraji was saying, I think that was KP or Rebecca, sorry. Learn to be your partners, I want to learn to be your partner. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just on that same note, learn to be your partner doesn't mean you never knew how to be that person's partner. Because I think it's important to know they did get together. You see what I'm saying? Like, he did propose, she did say yes, they did get married. So at one point, they knew how to be that person's partner enough for them to get to the contract, to sign the contract, and to go through with the ceremony and everything. Somewhere along the way, growth happened on, you know, one person's part, and then it was unnoticed by the other, and then growth happened on the other person's part, and it was unnoticed by the other person's. And that's a very important thing as it pertains to getting to know your partner. It's not to say you never knew them. It's to say, do you know them now? Do you know what their favorite color is now? Do you know what their favorite song is now? Do you know what their favorite food is now? Because KP and Tony, y'all used to eat meat back in the day, and now y'all eat bean meat, right? And it's like, it's just,
you know,
so like you can't be like, well, her favorite food is, you know what I'm saying, steak and lobster. No, that was it when y'all was young bucks. Like, y'all some OGs now, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't the same. So I think that there, you know, it speaks to the growth aspect. And I think I held on to this point too late because whoever this person is ain't watching the video no more. But as it pertains to a discussion like this is how we know that these type of discussions, Tony, before I give it back to you, this is how we know these type of discussions are had far too little. Because once we brought up the fact that we're going to talk about men being abused, a lot of women's first reaction is, but women get abused too. And it becomes a problem for men to talk about abuse. You see what I'm saying? And I think that that's one of those things that, like, we as people can evaluate. It's like, me talking about my abuse doesn't dismiss yours. It really gives us a reason to be able to unite and overcome together. So like, my struggle is not separate from yours. It's just my gender is. But we have the same struggle. I just thought that was worth noting, but you know, that was way earlier. That person's not watching, or they started the video around right
now. But yeah, that's all great points. I'm gonna bring up the last point, and it was basically just saying, what does recovery / working through your emotional abuse look like?
That's good. I'm gonna jump in there, and I think the men should kind of do this, but I just want to say that I think we kind of pointed that out, having a safe space with your women. Men, you did a good job at kind of giving us an idea of what that looks like from your mouth. So I think that is a perspective that I learned that we can do, just kind of allowing you all to come home without also tearing you down like you can experience outside at work and, you know, anywhere else you go outside.
Yeah. So would you think like therapy will help, like far as in recovery, or like I mean individually or what?
I'm a big therapy advocate. I have a therapist I just saw 2 weeks ago, and I told y'all this. At one point I was seeing a therapist every week.
But for a man though, because most men, you got to think about it. Like, if I don't know the statistic on that, but it's probably a higher number of women, especially Black women, that will go to a therapist than a Black man.
I was just saying that therapy is a good thing. You know, I'm definitely a therapy advocate, regardless of whether you're a male or female. I understand that there may be some, you know, hesitancy or resistance to therapy, like you said, especially for maybe, I hate to say it, but I don't want to say just Black men, but especially for men. But I will say this, if for some reason, like whatever you're going through, like verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, if you feel like in a way it's starting to impact the way you think about yourself, it's impacting the way you view the world, it's impacting your thoughts, it's like everything about you, I think at that point, I mean, it's time to realize that basically, how do I get out of this rut that I'm in? You know, how do I get out of this, this feeling that I'm having? And because if you can get yourself out of it, I mean, I'm sure that you probably would. And when I say out of it, I mean that emotional state that you're in based on what you're experiencing in your relationship. So if you can get yourself out of it, most likely you will, right? But I think sometimes we have to realize when we can't do it ourselves, when we can't do it on our own, that's when it's time to seek other sources such as therapy, or if you have a church that you belong to, or if maybe your parents or siblings or somebody is there that you trust that you can talk to kind of be able to help you work through that. So
honestly, I'm gonna say honestly, I think therapy for Black men or men, I'm gonna say Black men specifically, is important even more so than the Black woman. And I will say that because of the toxic masculinity that is put and placed on Black men and Black boys, as far as it not being okay to cry. It's not being okay to share your feelings because then you a punk, you know, and all these different things. And as far as like emotional intelligence, our Black men may be really lacking in that area because they never even had an opportunity to grow up to, nobody even asked them how they feel, you know. And I think that is just really important to do that work because I think we owe it to ourselves to know every part of us, not just pieces of us, but every single part of us. And so I think that's important.
That reminds me, I'm in one of my books, I'm currently studying for a licensing exam, and that's part of when we're going over like different cultures. In the African American culture, it says on there that the women are remember I told you I text you that day, the women are the something, the pillar or something like that, it said, of the family. Basically, if the woman ain't doing good, ain't nobody doing good. I don't like that. As true as it is, I don't like that. I don't think it's right. I think that it is the man's place to be the head of the household. Basically, that's what the book was saying without saying the woman is the head. It was like the woman is kind of like the emotional strength of the family. And as a Black woman who does agree with that statement, I don't necessarily like it. I think that it is time, you know, for our Black men to be able to like you said, sis, that emotional part, that emotional being, that emotional intelligence, that's important. That's very, very important. I think that when you're in tune with, you know, your being or your emotional self, you're self-aware, all those things, I do believe that, you know, naturally they're, you know, able to take their place, whether it's in the household or workplace, whatever that might look like. So that's just my take on it. I was a little angry when I read that because I'm like, dang, I can't even dispute it because it's true.
I wasn't
It
surprised.
is true.
I wasn't surprised.
It shouldn't be that way, but it's true. Any other points?
Honey, what was your question, bro? I forgot it.
What does recovery / working through emotional abuse look like?
Got it. Thanks. I think another thing, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think a conscious effort of being aware of your emotional state. Like when I talked about with myself, I suppress things. So I know my mindset. I know I have a very positive mindset, but having a positive mindset is more outcome. I need to be in tune with the present. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking down the line, like, no, this is gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? Today wasn't that good, but tomorrow I'm gonna be good for sure. But as I'm interacting with people, I need to be aware of how I'm presently interacting. Am I being overly sarcastic? Am I being sometimes even my energy? Like I play too much, but I play too much because I'm trying to comfort, and I'm trying to like secure people more than you offend someone. So for me, I have to come out of my suppressive mind state where I'm not paying attention to how I really feel. I'm just trying to like protect everybody else. And that's psychologically, that's because I'm 1 of 22. When I was the oldest, I had 9 under me. You know what I mean? Even now, as I'm showing houses, I feel like I'm always showing women houses. So somebody come up, then I mean, it's like I kind of gotta feel like I have to be like that hero type figure, you know, all these different things. So I think that's what it looks like for me and people who identify with what I do.
Yeah, I think for me, like, even though I never been through the abuse part, but you know, as a man in general, like I've been stressed or even depressed and didn't even know it. So it's kind of like for me, I had to get back to my normal in a way, because this year has just been hard. You know what I mean? Like just with so much going on and not being able to physically go to church and you know, wasn't able to really go to the gym at the time. It's like everything was just starting to sink in, you know, on me, where it's like I didn't know how to release in a way. And for me personally, as a man, for me, I hold on to everything. You know what I'm saying? Like with all of the back-to-back deaths that's been happening in my family, it start to make me start to be paranoid, thinking about death and my next, or am I gonna get COVID, or I get pulled over, am I the next person to get shot? Just all type of stuff like that. So to be able to talk to my wife, that's good. But to have friends and communicate with a group, that helps even more. So even though I'm not in an abusive state, some men that are being abused, they might need to be in a community of guys where they can be uplifting to one another. That might not be the barbershop conversation to have because you don't know what type of crowd you're dealing with. And everybody might not be mature enough to understand or even have that sympathy or empathy for you, and knowing like, man, I understand, bro. Even if I don't understand, you want me to pray for you, or, you know, I can connect you to something, or whatever the case may be. It's just like we just a laughing stock to one another instead of uplifting each other.
Good stuff. That's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree, Tony. If no one else had anything, I was just kind of gonna wrap it up. But I agree. Just having that male, like mentor or friend in your life, so that you can unwind and unwrap and just kind of have a safe place with them, because you know, we would want to hope that our man comes and tell us everything. But I'm so glad that Chris has another male in their life to, you know, kind of see from their perspective what they're going through, or if they ever have been through something that he's going through. I think that's so important. So Tony, I think you hit the nail on the head as far as part of recovery, having other men who can identify and who is supportive, you know, with what you're going through, and can, you know, kind of uphold you without, you know, it being a joking matter or a matter where you're gossiping about that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, as we said, this month is about domestic violence awareness. So next week, you will see us on live on Friday, the 23rd of October. You will see us live with Miss Rachel Carruthers talking about women's from the women perspective, because we didn't just want to be one-sided, which is why we're having a male perspective and a woman's perspective. So tune in next Friday. Again, thanks for tuning in for this video. We're not getting enough likes, followers, and shares. So turn that up, y'all. Turn that up. I think we say some stuff, not just for you guys, but stuff that's helping us. So if you like what you're seeing, don't let it be like a hidden secret. Share it with somebody who you know who is yearning to be in a relationship or needs some wisdom or something that they need. There's been something in these many videos that we have put out since May 1st or the beginning of May that you guys can share. So please help us out, guys. As usual, thank you so much. And TMP,
hold it down.
Bye.
See ya.
Peace.